Morning, Daryl. It's 4:16 in the morning. I'm not even live or awake yet. And it's Weaver Gen C from Roseman, California. It's the November 10th, 2023. Today is Veterans Day. One of the harder days for me just to deal with is Veterans Day because I lost my brother a long time ago. Not because he was a veteran, but because of some kind of health condition knocked his ass out permanently. He died in September. In Roseman, the living wall came through and parked for the entire weekend. I haven't got a chance to get over there yet. I've been there once when it was over in Palmdale Amphitheater, and that was about, nearly a decade and a half ago. It was hard seeing that because I saw a lot of people who died in Vietnam. My brother and I looked at the names. I guess for some people, the names are not that important, but for those who actually have loved ones, it's still a way to remember them. We had, I guess, for about a year or two or more, they were trying to get the wall parked over in Roseman. I guess they lobbied like crazy, and then they had it moved a couple of days ago into town. Driving up Sierra with a lot of sheriff and fanfare, I wasn't I wasn't paying attention to it. I really wish I was. It's on one side of town, I'm on the other side of town. And it's hard as hell for me to go over there to see the names again. It's not just seeing the names on there. It's seeing ghosts. My brother was a veteran, regardless of whatever his circumstances were. He served. It seems like I'm avoiding things and avoiding military because it reminds me too much of my brother. I guess other people would go to places and look for the catharsis to try to find a way past their pain, to memorialize them. I guess it would be a slap in the face for me not to memorialize my brother in any other way. He loved the Navy. He did his job the best he could. Things happened, and he still liked the Navy. He still liked being a frogman and his other jobs in there. There were people in there that he didn't like as much. There were other people he called brothers. And it was hard as hell for me to go into a place where there's vets. I felt like I was still an alien walking into that place because if I happened to go into a VFW hall, it was always with my brother. If I happened to go to a VA center, it would be my brother was there. Memories, triggers. I avoid places like that. Not that I'm wiping out his existence of him being in the Navy. But I guess maybe I am because I didn't want to deal with the memories. I didn't want to deal with the pain that the memories have, of the loss. Being reminded constantly that he's gone. I mean, I could sit here and talk about him like crazy and know that he's still gone because his ashes are still upstairs are still in the third tier, the cabinet, along with Ma and everybody else. So yeah, it still kicks me in the ass. I was trying to make a video concerning about, trying to find an explanation concerning about your situation, and not to mention I was trying to make a big deal about the Gemini space program and Frank Borman, how hardly anybody else was touching. I didn't see anything. All I kept seeing was the damn politics. It was not the Ukraine war. It was not war with Israel, and it's the damn politics. An astronaut of the Apollo space program. I don't know how many people are left of the space program, let alone Mercury's already gone, I think. You still got a few astronauts left, maybe of Gemini or Apollo, and once they're gone, that's it. Then we have to worry about is the astronauts are in STS, and they're even worse off because hardly anybody kept track of them. STS was about 30 years of just being a space truck going up and down space. Up into space, load up stuff, unload stuff, build stuff, come right back down to Earth. It was basically a space truck, a bit of a space laboratory. But the Apollo was sending 3 guys to the moon and back. Sending 3 guys, 2 of them would land on the surface, and the rinky-dink lander stay for a few hours to a few days, and then get the hell up and get back to Earth. Gemini was just to test out the hardware and the skills necessary to do the maneuvers and to pilot the ship, so they could do Apollo. Frank Borman was one of those astronauts in the second tier group in the Gemini. Nobody would know about Frank Borman except maybe for what happened back in 1968. America needed a Hail Mary pass to get past the Russians. The Russians were beating us in different areas, but we were gaining on them. We were gaining skills. Russians were going to build this huge-ass rocket and shove the damn thing up to space into the moon, and something happened with their rocket that they couldn't do it. But we were doing it in the stages with our own Saturn V's. We were getting the landers made. Okay, I'm going to say something about this one here. Did you ever see the HBO special, From the Earth to the Moon? Now me, I'm a sci-fi space geek. I watched this from time to time because I loved it. I missed those times. I missed them because I was born in '66. During the time when Mercury had already made a splash. But now Gemini was getting up in there. And then after that, it was going to be Apollo to get out there. My mother bought me a book, Walk in Space. I treasured that book for a long while. I lost it, but I got another copy of it. And in that book was the Mercury space mission. What they went through. How they lived. How they existed in spam in a can being shoved out in space. Doing the experiments necessary. How to navigate. How to maneuver 2 ships together. How to dock. How to stay in space a lot longer. How to navigate. And these guys, brave men. These guys were my heroes. I mean, I could have a fictional hero like Captain Kirk from the Federation of the Planets. Big whoop. Big whoop. Unless you've already been in space, gone through the vacuum, maybe stayed up there for not just for a few seconds at a time, but I'm talking about longer than that. I got more respect for the NASA astronauts and cosmonauts than I do about anybody else trying to do the tourist shit. I'm sorry. Some some of these billionaire idiots want money coming out of the people's pockets. Okay, let's shove them up in space and let's see how they live up there. I'm like, you don't get it, you really don't get it. Yeah, we need to get space commercialism up there, but we're not ready for that, are we? Are we ready to put up Howard Johnson's or actually Hilton or any one of the big hotel chains on the moon yet? Popularize the damn thing. We need to get a working base up there. You know, if we continued on with the space program, if we actually shoved a lot of money into it back then, maybe we could have had something of a permanent base or short term, maybe for about 30 days or something like that. Something that would have put man's legacy up there on the moon. At least in my lifetime. I'd love to see that one. I would love to have seen Space 1999, or at least in the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, Clavius Base. My God. How long and how much man's involvement in that one just to get those communities up there. I saw 2001 Space Odyssey for the first time. I got knocked out on that one. Not just the model work, not just the camera work. The idea, the ideal. It wouldn't be possible if we didn't have guys going up there originally to survive on that rock we call a moon. Borman never touched the surface, but he flew around it. And it took a lot of pictures that we take for granted. You go on the moon and you can see some of the photography that they made on Apollo 8. Apollo 8, as I said before, was a Hail Mary. You got to understand that we had a beat the Russians thing. We had a Red Scare going on. We had a Cold War happening. And space race was just part of it. When Russia launched up Sputnik, they had a radio transmitter that scared the hell out of people. We had to get something up there. Our rockets kept blowing up because we couldn't get it right. Even von Braun helping us out, we were still trying to get there. And then they threw up a dog. And then they threw up Yuri Gagarin. It was not until we had Shepard, Alan B. Shepard, I think. Yeah. I got to get into the wiki to get into this. I'll put you on pause while I get this information sorted out here. It was Shepard, Alan Shepard. He was the first one up. He was the first one up. Freedom 7. Then it was Gus Grissom. Scott Glenn. No, I'm sorry. John Glenn. Scott Glenn's an actor. There was Carpenter, Shira, and Cooper. 6 astronauts. It was supposed to have been the 7th, but the 7th was... oh, God, hang on. Yeah, there should have been 7 on that one. They weren't. Deke Slayton. Deke Slayton had something wrong with his heart, and he couldn't do the flights. It was not until they had the Apollo Soyuz, I guess the publicity space flight, that Slayton went on and had their moment in space with the astronauts. Yeah. Shared a few things, slid a coin together, and then that was it. Nobody else heard of that the thing after that. It was supposed to have been a huge thing, but people forgot about the damn thing. And then you had the Space Transportation System. 30 years of that space truck going up and down in space. But I went crazy yesterday because Frank Borman died. I never met the guy. I only seen the shows. I'd read the books. I'd never seen the actual man. But to me, he was one of those heroes. Every time I kept watching the show from HBO, From the Earth to the Moon. 1968 was the episode. I think I remember more about that one than I remember concerning about the actual mission. You know, it happened in 1968. I was only a kid during that time. I was about 2 years old. So 2 years old didn't mean anything to me. But what it was meaning, was it 2 years old? Yeah, a second. I just gotta say something real fast. Yeah. Okay. When the hell was Apollo 8? Had to have been 68, right? Okay. It was. Christmas. 68. I was only a kid when that happened. We wanted to beat the Russians so damn bad to the moon that we were actually able to risk 3 astronaut lives to go into the Apollo capsule without any lunar lander, because none were available at the time. They were still being constructed, tested, refined, and trying to get the nuts and bolts, everything else working perfectly. It was probably until, I think, Apollo 9 that they actually brought up the craft Spider. It was their code name for the lunar lander. And they had to put it through its tests in space around Earth orbit. And they found out it was actually working. Grumman did a hell of a job. Grumman did a hell of a job. I remember watching more. I remember more of the show than I did the actual missions because that was educating me a lot more. And Frank Borman was one of those guys who actually helped make the Apollo program the way it was. That it had to function in one way. If I can make a suggestion there, Daryl, if you can watch the entire series, you'll understand where my passion is. I felt like I was always born too late. A day late and a dollar short. When I saw that there was no fanfare, when we keep losing these astronauts. It's a hard thing for me to deal with. The veterans that we got out there, the veteran wall that we have out there in Roseman only deals with the Vietnam War, but if I want to attach more stigma to it, it's the guys who went up in space because they were also military vets. And they didn't die in a war, except a Cold War, a space race. We didn't fire any guns at each other, but we fired political stigma at each other. You want to reach the moon? We're going to get there first within 10 years. We're going to plant our flag on there. And then we're going to do this to you. But when Apollo 11 landed, when the Eagle landed, it wasn't just for America, even though we did plant the American flag up there. It was supposed to be for every man who can touch it. Now, if we actually had the flag of the United Nations, that's a different story altogether, and that I probably would have an issue with regarding the United States flag. Because to me, we were trying to make 11, well, trying to make it for everybody, right? The problem is we weren't making it for everybody. Sorry, I'm trying to get my cushion up. No, we were making it for America. If you'd noticed the patch regarding Apollo 11, there are no astronauts. It's just a flag. It's just Earth in the background, American Eagle, with a branch of peace landing on the moon. No astronauts' names, no astronaut, and nothing to indicate that there was an astronaut. It was just the American Eagle landing on the moon. The bald eagle. I think that way I'm just overwhelmed. Can't find the words for it. Anyway, I'll probably do another proper video after this. But I just wanted to say good morning, Daryl.